In Indiana, where an Amber Alert led to the discovery of 2 bodies, and this mother is being charged with the murder of her 2 children. Actually, I think it might be 3 bodies. They're going to confirm. We're going to hear from the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's department any minute now. This is out of Indiana.
Hey, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hey, mic check.
He just likes you, man. So he's not going to come over. You are doing that. Hey, good night. Thank you.
I'm radio. I'm not.
Yeah, get all these TV trucks out there with a bunch of parking tickets on it.
For real? No, she's not writing them today. I already talked to her.
Well, somebody's writing them.
There they are?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I have a little pass thing, I guess.
TV stations before they paid $5.
Nope, nobody's wanting one yet. Nope, we're all just waiting. So do you want to shut the cutters, or do you want me to shut the cutters? I can.
No, I got everything else.
Cindy, how did you
We have to get away with it.
The gentleman gave me his seat.
I don't think Rudy needs to.
And then I'm gonna hang up.
I like the right thing.
Thank you.
Much else.
No, I was wondering if you could run my live shot.
You and I both
Okay.
are plenty.
Okay, awesome.
To go on.
Great, thanks, Rex.
You know, like legislators take you out, just dropping shit. As long as it wasn't times. As long as it wasn't times. Too much.
You know what I wish we could do?
He's from central Indiana. He's drunk all the time.
My cell phone is the track off of this, but I don't have that way, I don't have to worry about it. No, it's fine.
This is one of those. This is like a 4th triple homicide.
I didn't think about that.
It's only every few years. Yeah, one in February, the robbery gone bad. Then we get the triple homicide.
Kinsey here with ABC 15, and if you are just now joining us, this is a horrific situation out of Indiana. They're calling it the fatal Amber Alert case, where 2 children were reported missing, and it led to the discovery of their deceased bodies. The mother has now been arrested. It looks like we might have some people walking to the podium.
Hello, all.
A big crowd.
Yeah. Gentlemen, can we squeeze? How is everybody today?
Well, how are you?
I expected some kind of response. My name, are we ready? Does anybody need anything before we start? Okay. My name is Karen Richards. I'm the Allen County Prosecuting Attorney, and this is Curtis Hill. Curtis Hill is the Elkhart County Prosecuting Attorney, and he was kind enough to join us today when we got several calls asking questions about these 2 cases. I thought he could probably be a little bit more helpful as to what you wanted than could I. So he was kind enough to join us. I'll let him introduce himself a bit probably and tell you a bit about the case with the 2 children. And then you can ask me some questions and I'll tell you a bit about the case that we have in this particular county. Also, this is Captain Steve Stone of the Allen County Sheriff's Department and Troy Hirschberger and my Chief Deputy Mike McAlexander. So, Curtis, you want to start out?
Thank you, Karen. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Curtis Hill. I'm the prosecuting attorney in Elkhart County, and I'm here to join you today with my colleague Karen Richards to chat a little bit about a very tragic circumstance that involves both of our counties. This is certainly a great example of a working relationship between law enforcement. The Allen County Sheriff's Department is working with the Elkhart Police Department, and our office is working with the Allen County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Yesterday afternoon after 5 o'clock, a police officer from the Elkhart Police Department was walking outside of the EPD and was flagged down by a woman identified as Amber Pasztor, age 29, of Fort Wayne. And at that time, it was determined that there were 2 dead children in her vehicle. With that discovery, an investigation began, and also once we were able to determine that these children may have been the subject of the earlier Amber Alert, officials from the Allen County Sheriff's Department started to make their way over to Elkhart. I had an opportunity to confer with Mrs. Richards to talk about the possible engagement of our 2 counties in this particular case. We were able to determine that the identities of the deceased children were Liliana Hernandez, age 7, and her little brother Rene Pasztor, age 6, who apparently are the children of Amber Pasztor. The case is currently under investigation in Elkhart County. The investigation will continue as we were able to learn other events that appear to may have been related, and Karen will talk about that in a few moments. From our standpoint, we expect a probable cause hearing to be held in Elkhart tomorrow, make a determination of probable cause to continue holding Ms. Pasztor. We would anticipate, based upon the evidence that we're bringing in now, the filing of formal charges later this week. With that, I'll turn it over to Karen, and then I'll make myself available for limited questions. Keep in mind that there's very little substantive that I will be able to answer because this is an ongoing investigation, and it's imperative also to recognize that anyone who is being held to answer for a crime in the state of Indiana or who is even charged for a crime in the state of Indiana is innocent until proven guilty. And it's our responsibility as prosecuting attorneys to make sure that we preserve the integrity of that process as equally as it is for us to zealously go after the prosecution. So with that, be mindful that there will be a limited amount of information that I'd be willing to give at this point in time. Thank you very much.
And just to follow up on that, early this morning, there was the body of a male individual who was discovered deceased in a woods northeast of Fort Wayne in the county off of Wallen Road. It was determined today that that body belonged to a gentleman by the name of Frank McCumber. He was 66 years old. We do believe that there is some connection between Mr. McCumber and the woman who is being held in Elkhart County. There is some type of relationship there. We're not sure at this point what it is. The coroner in Allen County has performed an autopsy on the body. It has been determined that his death is a homicide. He was shot and died at that gunshot wound. It was also determined that his death probably occurred before these two children were abducted by their mother. This case is also under investigation. No one has been charged at this point. Our office will continue to work with the Allen County Sheriff's Department in the investigation of this case. At this point, though, the tragic death of these two little children is in the jurisdiction of Elkhart County, and I believe it is appropriate that that case stay in Elkhart County, and they will be prosecuting that. The death of Mr. McCumber most likely occurred in Allen County, and that will be our case. Other than that, there's not a lot that I can tell you. Other than that, we would entertain some questions, but again, remember that we're very limited in how much specific information we can give you about these cases because they're still under investigation.
What leads you to believe that the case of the children should be in Elkhart?
Well, the investigation that's occurring thus far, I won't get into all the details, but the children were discovered in Elkhart deceased. And so presumptively, on that basis alone, Elkhart County would have jurisdiction as the proper place to review, investigate, and eventually prosecute the case.
Is there reason to believe that that's where the crime might have been committed?
Yes.
Any idea how long they may have been deceased in the back of the car before she found police?
Not at this time.
How were they killed? How did they die? Did the autopsy reveal that?
It was a homicide, but at this point in time, I won't disclose that.
Ms. Richards, you walked in, you asked how we're feeling. I think a lot of us have been out there today talking with victims, talking with family members. My question to you is, how do you feel, how do both of you feel investigating a crime where you have lost two young lives?
You know, I think, Curtis can speak for himself, but I think probably one of the hardest things that people don't realize about sheriffs, about prosecutors, is that all of our law enforcement are at these scenes. There is a prosecutor, one or more from our office, that goes out to all of these scenes. And I can tell you from personal experience, some of the worst things that I've ever seen in my life that I can still close my eyes and see is the death of any child. It's horrible. And I think it takes a toll on the community, and it takes a toll on our offices as well. And I don't think you should ever forget that it takes a horrible toll on law enforcement, because when you find children, it's usually law enforcement that walks in on that scene, and I will tell you, you can close your eyes and you can see those faces for the rest of your life. So in answer to how do I feel, that's how I feel. I was not at this particular scene, but I have been at others, and I think for the local folks, you remember the same ones I do. I'll be able to close my eyes and see three little kids for the rest of my life. That's how I feel, in all honesty.
Do you believe Amber Pasztor shot McCumber?
You know, at this point, that case is still under investigation. I honestly do not know at this point. I know that they lived in close proximity to one another, and the car that the children were found in was his motor vehicle. So that's why there is some possible connection between the two. What it is at this point, I really don't know.
And you feel like that's strong enough to charge her with his murder in Allen County?
We haven't charged anybody with anything in Allen County. This case is still under investigation.
Do you
So what
believe
can you tell
drugs
us
or
about
mental
Amber?
illness were a part of her motivation at all? Do you know if she was on drugs at the time?
You know, I think all of those things are speculation, and I can't comment on any of those.
Did Ms. Pasztor make any statements at her arrest? And if she did, what were those statements?
Ms. Pasztor has been somewhat cooperative, but in terms of the substance of anything that she's talked to police about, we'll reserve that until further proceedings.
Did she tell you where the body was?
The body
Cover?
of, I beg your pardon?
Did she tell you where to find McComber?
She gave information that was helpful to the investigation. I'll leave it at that.
Was she arrested on 2 preliminary charges of murder?
She was being held on a warrant at this point in time.
And what was the
And the
warrant?
timing involved.
What was the
on
warrant
day-
I don't recall.
On the day that she did not appear for a hearing and a warrant was issued for her arrest, the timing of all of this happening on that same day, should people assume that there's a connection there between these events happening on the same day?
Well, we deal in facts. We're not here to make assumptions. And I would caution the public to not make assumptions. That's why, we're here really as a courtesy because of the tragedy that's occurred and people are talking about it to give some preliminary information as to what's going on. But our first responsibility is to make sure that justice is conveyed on behalf of the community and the victims in this family of this situation. So we don't get into a whole lot of speculation at this point.
Do you know where the legal guardian Rick was when they were abducted in that house?
I do not.
There was blood on the front porch of McComer's house. Where do you think he was killed?
At this point, this case is still under investigation. I honestly don't know.
So you have no idea as to why his body was right behind the grandfather's?
Like I indicated, his body was just found this morning, so the case is still under investigation, and a lot of those details we just don't have at this point.
What's the status of the children's father?
I believe the children's father is deceased.
Was that a violent death as well?
That was my understanding.
Are you linking that now, or are you going to be digging that back up in terms of what happened?
You know, again, I think we need to deal in what we know. That I have no idea if those are the slightest bit connected, and I think that's mere speculation at this point.
And keep in mind that as we speak, law enforcement is out there working on the case, developing additional information. So, again, this is very, very preliminary, and we expect to know information. I'll know more information at the point in which we consider the filing of formal charges, but at this point in time, this is the information that's appropriate to release at this time.
So is the search ongoing at the Waller property, or are you done searching that property?
That is, again, the Allen County Sheriff is investigating that. They're very good at what they do. I'm not going to release specifics of their investigation at this point. I think that would probably be inappropriate.
Just has the property been released back, or is it still considered a crime scene?
I think this area, a lot of this area is woods. The particular home that we're talking about, I believe, has been released.
Is she being held on any type of special watch, suicide watch, or just given the nature of what has occurred?
I believe that there was there may be a trip to the hospital. I'm not sure what the current status is.
She essentially abducted the kids from their grandparents
Correct.
about 6 o'clock yesterday morning. But did she break in? Were the grandparents awake, or did they wake up and find the kids weren't there?
I am not sure of the specifics of that at this point.
Do we know why the Amber Alert was issued hours later? So what was the process in terms of?
Well, you have to remember about an Amber Alert. In order by law to issue a state Amber Alert, you have to have two things. You have to have a complete description of the person who is believed to be involved in the abduction and a description of a motor vehicle. And it may have taken some time. I don't know if it took time for it to be discovered since it was the early morning hours that the children were gone. I don't know if it took time to gather information on description and motor vehicle, etc. But often it's not unusual for it to take a bit of time to get the specifics in order to give the Amber Alert.
Was there any weapon found with her when she arrived in Elkhart, either in the car or on her person?
That's subject for further investigation.
Can you shed some light onto her relationship with her children, because she was not the legal guardian of them, correct?
I don't have information about the relationship with the children. I don't know.
I'm not sure we have a total picture of that right now at this point.
Can you confirm she had a third child, a son who's doing okay now?
I really would rather, even if I knew, I would probably not release that.
When she talked to police, did she say why? Was there any reason or idea what the motive is?
All that would be subject to investigation.
Does
Mr.
she
Hill,
have
did
any
you want to
history of
offer-
using drugs?
I don't know.
You don't know?
We heard from Ms. Richards. Mr. Hill, did you want to offer your perspective?
My perspective on what?
Perspective on dealing with this type of a case, especially dealing with children. We heard from Ms. Richards just to...
Well, it's no different. It's a senseless tragedy. There's no such thing as a good reason to kill, but my gosh, when it becomes children, regardless of who's ultimately determined to be responsible, it's a horrific thought that in 1 minute you have a lively, bright, energetic 7-year-old and a 6-year-old, and then the next their life is snuffed out. It is, as Karen pointed out, it is a tragedy for even law enforcement, and you know, we don't take into consideration nearly enough what goes into that job. The Elkhart police officer who was flagged down was traumatized when he looked into that vehicle. And these are people who deal with these types of things every day, but you don't expect, no matter how much you can be prepared for that, you don't expect to come up across that type of a situation. And this community should be traumatized when you learn that your own children are being killed. And so it's our responsibility, it's law enforcement's responsibility to conduct a thorough investigation, to get it right. It's our job to make sure that we get it right, because it's all about accountability. We can't always prevent bad things from happening, but if we do our jobs and keep our heads, we can certainly hold those who are accountable for such bad behavior to be fully responsible for what they've done.
Are there any other searches currently going on for any other suspects?
The investigation is ongoing, and I can assure you that any leads that are developed will be continue to be developed upon. But at this point in time, I can't say where it's starting, stopping. It's ongoing, and it will go in the direction that it goes.
Well, this isn't, I guess, just so the public is aware, this isn't a type of situation where you think there's someone else involved who's going to...
There's no reason to believe from anything that I've seen in our investigation in Elkhart that this is a matter of any type of a random act or something that the general public should be concerned about. I think Karen would agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree, and it is not something where I think is someone else involved to the point that the public should be afraid that someone else is out there. There's nothing at this point to lead us to believe that.
To the Amber Alert, is it the case that Mr. McComber was part of the Amber Alert because it was his vehicle that was traveling? Is that the reason why he was listed in the Amber Alert?
Very possible, yes.
And then to that end, is it possible that he was simply killed for his car?
Well, again, you're getting into possibilities, and we're not here to speculate. Those are all things that will be thoroughly investigated, and at the appropriate time, which could very well be the trial, those things will be made public as a way of producing evidence to hold the accused accountable.
Why Elkhart? To your knowledge, does she have any connection to Elkhart?
And again, that's under investigation as well.
Were the kids in the front seat or the back seat? And how did they die?
I won't talk about that.
And I don't know.
Any resources available for the officers? You know, like we said, you are traumatized by this. Any services available to them to help them?
There are services
Absolutely.
within the department. Yes, there are.
Do you know when the coroner's report is going to be released to the children?
No, I don't. The autopsy was scheduled this morning, and I do not know when that will be released.
Is it possible it's been released in the last half an hour? Because I just got a text saying that the coroner said they were asphyxiated.
I have not seen it. If it's in the last half hour, I've been here. So if that's been released, it's been released, but I haven't seen it.
And if you're looking for the coroner's report on Mr. McComber, that's online.
So formal charges are expected to be released from your county later this week. If any, when do you expect formal charges, if any, to be released?
You know, when you've got a case under investigation, sometimes things fall together fairly rapidly. Sometimes it takes longer. It would be doing a disservice to those who are investigating for me to give them a timeline. They need to do it right and do it well, and when it's ready, we'll review it.
Was there a second body found on the Waller property?
Not that I am aware of.
The children have two different last names.
Yes.
Do they have the same father, or is it?
I am honestly not sure. They do have two different last names, and I really am not sure why. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything? Yes.